Development Corporation to order. Dr. Kirk, would you be so kind as to give our invocation?
Yes. Join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, Lord, we just humbly come to you today. Thank you for this time together, Lord. We just pray that you'd be with us as we're going about the business of your community, Lord, and just lead us and guide us and give us wisdom as we make decisions, Lord. And we pray for this community as we're going through this time of the year, Lord. Just be with us and guide us in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Would you join me with the pledges?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Okay, so a little house cleaning here. We need to discuss and take any necessary action regarding the appointment of officers. We have to do this annually, so we'll start at the top, Mr. Attorney.
You want to, yeah, but you're going to be choosing yourselves, though.
Well, I mean, it's kind of one of those things that I don't know how else we do it other than just open it up for nominations.
Well, that's what we're going to do, just open it up for nominations.
Okay.
Because I mean, I can't choose who's going to be what.
Well, I wasn't asking you for a nomination. That's okay. All right, so let's start at the top. Open up to nominations for president.
I'd nominate Chris Crowe for president.
Second it.
Okay, have a nomination and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Wait, just a second. Any other nominations first? Okay, hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carries. Vice President, who is currently Jeff Russell.
I'm okay with Jeff Russell. Second.
I have a nomination and a second. Any others? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. Motion carries. And then we have the Assistant Secretary, which is currently Dr. Kirk.
I'd nominate Dr. Kirk.
Okay, have a nomination.
Second.
Have a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, you now have your slate of officers for 2024. Brings us to item 4, consider the minutes of the January 11th, 2023 meeting and the January 25, 2024 meeting, which was the planning meeting, and January 29th, 2024 special called meeting. So I think you had a few little corrections.
Yeah, just
Mr. Boutin?
they're minor, and only on the planning meeting. I think we didn't note, as far as attendance goes, those who are representing, other than Chris, the Black Chamber, and I think we ought to identify them. They did have some input into the meeting, and I think we ought to add that. There's a little bit of punctuation, very minor, that I showed Kathy, and she can fix that. So other than that, with those adjustments.
Chris, you were there. We had Bill Cleaver that participated. Who else did we have?
Dr. Joanna Hadjikastandi.
I'm going to let you get with Kathy to spell Hadjikastandi.
I think Kathy has them. Yeah.
Okay, excellent.
With those modifications, I would make a motion to approve all 3 sets of minutes.
Second.
Okay, have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 4, University of Texas of the Permian Basin campus and future plans presentation by the one and only Dr. Sandra Woodley. Come on down.
Hello, friends. How are you?
Wonderful. How are
What
you?
a distinguished looking group you have right here. Okay. Well, thank you for allowing me just a few minutes to brag about the university, which I love to do on a daily basis. Many of you are alums, Falcons Up, so we'll start with that. I don't know if you have the presentation in front of you or whether it's going to be pulled up here.
Sir, I see folks, they came in a little bit ago, but.
And it's there, I don't know.
Okay.
And do you have this in front of you? Because we could. Yes, Carol sent it to your IT folks. Look, that's it right there.
Kaylee to the rescue there.
I think she sent a PowerPoint as well, but we can probably advance the PDF as well. Perfect. Well, thank you so much. The first thing I always want to start with, are the thank yous. The Odessa Development Corporation has been a longtime partner with the university. You've made many investments in the university, and I just want to say thank you for those. I don't know how many of you have been to the library or the SEED where we, have the Advanced Manufacturing Center, the maker spaces, all of those spaces, geared towards diversifying the economy. ODC invested in all of those, and so we want to say thank you for that, for those investments that I think we're making good use of as well. Supporting the students and creating new businesses. The Small Business Development Center out there at the SEED works with these innovation spaces to really help us work really hard to make sure that we're doing what the university needs to be doing on workforce. I see the main mission of the university is absolutely workforce. What do we do most? We graduate students. And those students are those, frontline employees that are needed in the workforce. And we want to make sure that we're as responsive as we can to that. We recently had an economic study that, really excites me and keeps me up at night just a little bit. So what we found was if we look over the next several decades of what's going to be needed in the Permian Basin, there will be 190,000 workers needed. Now, most of those workers do not require a baccalaureate degree, but about 38,000 of them will. And so, we graduate around 1,200 students every year. About 80% of that were undergraduate baccalaureate holders. And so what we know is we have to really step up our efforts to make sure that we do our part as the regional university to provide that workforce here for the Permian Basin. And we're on it. We have big plans and big aspirations at the university. This graph shows you our current economic impact of all of the activities for those who graduated from the university from our own $130 million enterprise and the enterprises that are associated with our graduates already, $300 million in economic impact. If we're able to achieve a Texas Tech type university over the next 30 or 40 years, and that's about how long it will take, and we believe that's what will be needed of our university for the growing industry that we have here, then the economic impact of the enterprise of the university would be $1.9 billion. So that's a big, lift. But, I'm here for the maybe for the next 10 years at least. So we're going to have a really good decade to be able to get on that trajectory to achieve. Current jobs, 2,231 directly or indirectly associated with the university enterprise. If we achieve the goals that are needed for the university, 21,000 would be the jobs for the university. So, at the end of the day, we are also a business that will generate more business, and more economic impact. We know that about a quarter of all of the jobs in the Permian Basin are either directly or indirectly related to the university operations or alumni who have started businesses in the Permian Basin. A quarter of all the jobs, which was a little surprising to me. Also, excites me and keeps me up at night. So we want to make sure we keep that trajectory going. One of the things I would like to say is our ability to achieve the economic impact that's required of us really involves growing the entire university. Making sure that it's affordable, the scholarships that we have to make sure that our students and those who aren't yet students, who need to be students, can afford the cost. Athletics is, not initially what you think of is what's related to jobs, but in our case, that's really the case. If you look at Lubbock and Texas Tech, the athletic programs, not only do they generate a huge economic impact to the region, they generate the next generation of workers, the best employees. I mean, our student athletes have higher GPAs than the student body. Our student athletes know how to get up on time. They know how to show up on time. They know how to work. They make the best employees right, out there. And so our ability to grow our athletic programs, we believe, is directly related to our ability to grow the academic programs and to become what's needed here. You know, I don't know if you've noticed, but, you know, we won the Lone Star Championship last year. So Falcons up, you know, that's a big deal for us. And it has also helped in the recruiting of all of our academic students. You know, here in the Permian Basin, unlike, you know, Dallas or Fort Worth and some of those areas, we have huge economic impact for Texas and beyond. But we don't have a huge population center here. Not when you compare it to, you know, Dallas or Austin or Houston, right? And so the critical aspect of the university being able to reach the best and the brightest in our high schools here and having them choose the university as their first choice, that's the best chance we have of getting our children and our grandchildren basically to stay here in the Permian Basin and take these high-paying jobs and grow our community. So athletics is a critical part of our academic, you know, and aspiration here to be what you need us to be. So we're excited about where we're going there. You know, the football is, you know, kind of front in mind, but all of our 14 you know, intercollegiate programs, and many of them are doing really well. I think our women's basketball team may, you know, go on to national, you know, go on to the regionals, and they're doing really well. Golf, of course, we had, you know, really great aspects there. So, you know, making sure that we have these aspects in place will help us achieve the goals for the, you know, for you and for us. You know, we have a lot of partners, and you know, I like to say that the University of Texas the University of Texas Permian Basin is a serial collaborator. You know, we're not trying to do this alone. We're not trying to go out there and compete head to head with Midland College or Odessa College or Texas Tech Health Science Center. They're our friends and our collaborators. And collectively, if we can join forces with our educational entities, but also entities like Permian Strategic Partnerships, who are making huge investments in our community, ODC, MDC, these collaborators will allow us all to collectively come together and get up this track that we need to do. So how can we continue to work together? Today I want to talk about a couple of things. You know, was able to have some preliminary conversations with some of you about an exciting project that we're looking to pilot around workforce analytics. SAS Analytics is a major worldwide analytics firm that has started on a project that would allow us collectively with our other partners in education, with PSP and potentially Odessa Development Corporation, we'll see, in Midland Development Corporation and the workforce group, to be able to look at real data around understanding what our workforce gaps out into the future are, not just for those who need a baccalaureate degree, but for those who need any kind of skill. And so we're working to pull all of these databases together, develop dashboards, develop the analytics that can help all of us come together and figure out, okay, where do we need to be? And what are the areas where we have the most shortages? Accounting, for example, is a huge shortage area. We know that anecdotally, but what we don't have is the detailed analysis to help us understand, well, how many? And not only that, but how many graduates are we expected to graduate in accounting, using that as an example? Could it even be enough? Where are the other accounting graduates in the Permian Basin that may be able to, you know, fill that need so that we can grow our own? You know, 85% of our students come from the Permian Basin, and most of our students stay here and work here. So the grow your own value proposition is one of the most important things that we bring to the table. But this analytics project in phase 1, and we're working on the details now, so you'll hear more about that later if you're interested, will allow us to take the data and understand about the workforce gaps, to do scenario analysis, to understand kind of where the pieces are. The end game for that is to connect that data to what is in the pipeline at UTPB and Midland College and Odessa College and Texas Tech and any of the regional providers that would provide those workers. Where are the graduates in those universities, and what is in the pipeline for that? And then to go a step further and to connect that with what do we know about the high school students coming out of our high schools? What do they want to study? What kind of career paths have they raised their hand already to take a look at? If we can collect the whole universe of K-12 students to community college to universities to the workforce, then we can develop much more specific plans and initiatives around getting that job done. So that's just a few of the things that we have going, and thank you for the opportunity to spend a few minutes with you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the update on what's going on for UTPB. I really like this workforce analytics data project that you guys are looking at. I think the possibilities of having that data, even to me, as we're talking to some of our site locators that are calling saying, hey, talk to me about, the workforce capabilities that you have, and be able to pull that data and say, we have this many possible employees coming through that are coming out of UTPB now, and these following in behind them from OC. So that, thought of, I keep calling the 3 R's of recruit, retain, and retire. It is a lot easier for us to pull those folks from our local area and get them to stay than it is to recruit from outside areas. So it's a pretty exciting project. I'm looking forward to seeing what you have down the road and what you can bring to us, and to see if ODC can collaborate with UTPB on another project.
Well, we'd love to.
Could you expand just a little bit? You said, I think I heard you say 85% of your students come from the area. Is that percentage consistent with your student athletes? And if not, what is that? And do you still have the same, do you have a substantive number that stay here once they graduate? I'm trying to understand how, because it seems like my perception is that you got more coming from out of town than you do in town.
Well, I think athletics, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, pretty much mirror the student body, but certainly there are more student athletes who come from further areas, to come in here. Our data do show that even if they come from a different area, many of them, the vast majority of them, even our athletes, do stay and work here. Okay. University of Texas system may collaborate with us on this analytic project in the sense that you may or may not know, but University of Texas system and Texas Tech University, they are now part of the PSP. So they are members of the PSP in addition to these oil and gas companies. So they bring to the table, a lot of assets, I think, that can help us in these areas. They're getting excited about this kind of regional workforce analytics initiative that we can pilot here, but that would be applicable for other areas of the state as well. But to that point, they have an analytics project called CQT. And they have been able, they got lots of awards for this project. They were able to go out and understand from, I think, Department of Commerce data, I can't remember which data that they used, everything that they needed to know about University of Texas University graduates, UTPB, UT Austin, when they graduated, where did they go to work? What did they make first year out? What did they make 5 years out? So that data is unit record data that would allow us to understand where our graduates go. And we do have access to some of that information that we've been looking at. Can we connect those data not just for the University of Texas institutions, but for our institutions, all of us here in the Permian Basin, so that we can have much more accurate and specific data about just what you're talking about?
Yeah, my perception is that although you've got a lot of very talented student athletes, relative to some of the really large schools, the likelihood that they make a career out of their chosen field in athletics is much smaller.
No, most of our student athletes are they're going to be engineers.
Yeah.
They're even nursing. They're very few of them are training to be in NFL football. So they're staying. They're getting a job.
So their GPAs are higher.
That's right.
You named all of the kind of characteristics that would make certainly a good employee. And certainly a good business owner.
Right.
And so I think it intrigues me to understand that component a little better, because more of those folks are coming from out of the area. but we still are growing them because they're going through the university.
Yeah.
So it was kind of best of both worlds.
Well, and I think, David, also, and I alluded to this before, part of the reason why athletics is an important driver, if you will, of the success of the university impact is back to the point of many of our students, all of the students who leave the Permian Basin to go to a Texas Tech or UT Austin, many of them are going for experiences that we're new at, right? We don't have our own, football stadium. We have a high school gym for a basketball arena. So our facilities master plan for athletics is related to athletics, but is for the purpose of becoming the first choice for the best and brightest in the Permian Basin, because we know if we can get them excited about staying here, they're likely to take a job here and work. And so growing athletics has a value bigger than just the court or the field or the athletic experience that we all enjoy watching and participating in. I love that too, but I'm mainly interested in how can I grow the graduates who'll stay here and work.
A quick question.
Yes.
On workforce, affordable childcare and Texas Workforce Commission, what's exactly is the linkage between them and the Rising Star program that makes it affordable, and that some of the other child cares couldn't qualify, so it's driven the number of seats, qualifying seats down. What can we do to get that number up?
Yeah, it's a a dilemma that a lot of people are talking about. We do have a small daycare at the institution, but it's generally for students and employees. So right now we're not part of that conversation around the seats. However, we are looking at working with Ector County ISD and Midland County ISD on collegiate high schools and some other opportunities for us to try to get the feeder. Some part of that might include pre-K, to include it as a little bit of a lab school for our College of Education and our pre-K, education programs. Some of those, of course, are at Odessa College and Midland College. So, there are at least some early conversations about how can the university and the community colleges be involved in solving that daycare crisis. But really, we're not involved in that right now.
I see. Well, thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions for Dr. Woodland?
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Brings us to contractors' reports. Let's start with economic development. Mr. Mansky.
Good afternoon. You will find our report in your packet on economic development activities since our last meeting. We've trimmed down the project list a little bit. We started taking off projects that have been inactive for well over 30 days. Hopefully, if we can ever re-engage these, we will put them back on the list. You'll notice some recent ones that we're currently active on. Project Molecule, we're kind of knee-deep into that. We're working on that every week. Matter of fact, the last 2 or 3 weeks in a row, the consultants have been in town multiple times. That's an ancillary project to 1.5 stack project out near No Trees in the northeastern part of the county. Ultimately, it would be a $75 to $100 million capital expense. Not a large employer, under 10, but it is a large CapEx project for us. Another one that's moving pretty good right now that I will mention to you, we've had multiple meetings lately. Project Lone Star Lithium, that's the electric vehicle battery manufacturer. There are some things that have occurred, some with federal legislation that is getting those guys moving a little bit. Don't want to get too excited about it because typically we've been working with this group for over 2 years now. When they move, then they slow down, then they move again. But hopefully they'll be back in Odessa within the next 30 to 45 days. That's what we're working on. You'll see some additional information on our BR&E visits. Those are coming back up again. Further in your packet, some of our partner visits. That reminds me, I've got to get with you, Mr. Crow. We've got to schedule another partnership meeting. Get that on the books. After that, you will see the economic indicators. I believe it was February was a really good tax month, which is that's a 60-day lag on that thing. So in other words, it was a pretty good Christmas this year. Sales tax was up significantly for Odessa and for the ODC. Following that, you will see our financials after that, actual compared to budget, balance sheet, profit and loss. And I will be happy to answer any questions you may have. I know we've got a couple of items further on the agenda that you'll have to see my face again, unfortunately for you.
I noticed that in the January BRE visits, there were 3 different ones, land availability type of things. What are you guys seeing out there in terms of available commercial industrial land and the availability of it? And are these guys being able to find the sites that they need to?
Land is coming up. People are asking more for their property, especially out in the county. We are getting more inquiries. People are, the interest rates have inched down a little, and so people are kicking tires again. So we're getting more questions about that. As far as the projects that we get from the state potentially to work on, probably for the last 6 months, we've had to rule ourselves out of almost 100% of those because they require an existing building. Typically, those buildings have been maybe at a minimum 85,000 square feet requirement and above. Had a good one the other day. They require 225,000 square feet, multiple overhead cranes, up to 50 tons, and we don't have that sitting around. And if you work with the state, if you try to get involved in a proposal and you don't meet the minimum requirements, they get a little testy with it and they stop sending you the private emails that we get from them. So
where do those projects like that typically land? What areas of the state? I mean, are we just talking that they end up?
They usually, when they send
metro
us as the EDO for Odessa, they will send us an email. It goes to one person in the county. It goes to me. It comes from the governor's office, and it will have the minimum qualifications, and it will give you regions, and it may say statewide. It may say West Texas, East Texas, Gulf Coast. And you read through it and decide, do we meet the minimum qualifications or not? If there's something that's if it's a qualification that is you deem not as important, certainly you still inquire and go after it. But a lot of them we're not looking to build a new building. We're not, we are interested in one thing, and that is an existing building with these things.
Tom, I think he's asking you who typically would win that.
Oh, who?
What area?
Yeah.
It just depends on what they're looking for. Houston, the DFW in Houston get a lot of them. Austin, because they may have buildings like that sitting around.
That was really the gist of my question. Is there, are there places in the state that have those large facilities that are just, available?
You look at like the Dallas Business Journal, which I look at that all the time. You have concrete tilt buildings going up, and Mesquite's a big one right now. Out the east side of Dallas, they've got several concrete tilt warehouse type buildings that can be internally configured to meet a project's needs, and these things are 100 to 500,000 square feet. Sometimes you'll find one even bigger than that, 800. And that's a concrete tilt building sitting there ready to go, because they know with the growth and everything else they have going on there, it may not sit there for long. We don't have investors looking to do those types of things here. And there's a lot of large development companies. KDR, I think, is one. Brunswick, companies they'll put up one building and see what the market looks like.
Right.
And then they can also, on those type of structures, they can subdivide them if need be.
How good a job are we being able to do to have that list of available raw land properties or whatever? I mean, how do we, I know we, you can look on LoopNet and things like that, but I mean, do we really have a good network of understanding where the properties are, where the available land is, all those kinds of things?
Yeah, we've got LoopNet, CoStar. We subscribe to that. We put in what someone's looking for as far as acreage, things of that nature. If we don't have a price on it, we inquire on it. Depending on the age of the listing, we may still have to inquire on it because that may be an old price. But yeah, we try to stay on top of that and keep it current.
Good.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I noticed that on your partner visits, we had down the SHOT Show this year. Did we get anything at all from the SHOT Show from this year?
I know that Tracy went to that. I did not. She brought all there she is. We get all the contacts from that show and we download them into a software program we have called EDOIQ. And then we continue to reach out to these people. It's one of those things, you go after 1,000, you hope to get one. It's a pretty popular show, and I know there's been a few. We haven't landed somebody specifically, but I know there's been a few companies from that show that have come to Texas. Texas is a welcoming state for gun manufacturers and everything else that goes with that.
Yeah, because I was recalling a conversation that we had with the advertising committee back about this time last year, where we had talked about SHOT Show and we talked about the fact that we've been doing it for a number of years and really hadn't yielded anything out of it. And I was a little surprised to see that on here as well, because I know we had talked about it at the time, and I thought our consensus was that we weren't going to be attending SHOT Show any longer, because we really couldn't look back over the history and see that we'd really obtained anything close to real leads out of it. Did I misunderstand that, or?
I would tell you, one, it was my decision. I sent Tracy to the show. Two, if that conversation was had, I either missed that meeting or just did not recall it, and that's on me. But I went ahead and sent her to this deal. We don't go to a ton of these. We go to maybe 5 a year that have a big, large audience. This is probably the first or second one, I'll ask Christy, that we've done a geofence with. And so now we're trying to see if that has any bearing on it. But yeah, we can certainly, I'm here, I hear you now. We can certainly revisit that moving forward.
Yeah, I think, just this show and any other thing that we do, I mean, if we're attending it for a number of years and we can't really look back and see a return on investment, I think we really need to look at those and say, is this worth going to? Is it worth expending the effort, or do we need to be looking for other places that maybe we can try out that would be more beneficial to us?
Well, and there's also, and I'll tell you, if you start, if you look at each one individually, 3, 4, 5 years, and I can't tell you how long we've been going to the SHOT Show. I know both years I've been here. But there's also the site selectors that attend those that we're able to mingle with and talk to, stay in front of. Kroll is a good one. I've met them at a couple of shows. They've brought us more than one project, including the 1.5 project. And so a lot of it is just keeping your name and face out there. And certainly we revisit these things every year. But we certainly try to find the ones with the most value, and I can tell you that there will be some good shows this year, other than the SHOT Show, that we will attend. That we're not going to land a 100-employee new manufacturing deal from that particular show, but we're keeping our face and the community and the name and everything out there in front of people.
Also, I know we had on the minutes, I noticed it in the minutes that we were talking last time about maybe getting an update from 1.5. have we reached out to them to see if they can come in and give us?
I have reached out to, Telby is his name. I can't remember the last name. He's out of Denver. He's in their, community services office. He couldn't make this meeting, plus wanted to have UTPB on the agenda. But I believe I can have him at the March meeting, which brings also the point, it reminds me, the March meeting, I'll let the chairman know since that's under his deal, it occurs during spring break. That may or not be an issue, but I know for a lot of people that it probably is. That would be scheduled for March 14th. And looking at the calendar earlier, I noticed that.
Yeah, good point. Do you think we could also reach out to Nacero for an update? It's been a while since we've had an update from them.
Yeah.
Okay. Just as a suggestion.
Good idea.
Certainly.
Excellent. Any other questions for Mr. Mansky at this point? Okay. Thank you, Tom.
Okay. Thank you.
See you in a minute. All right. Current media partners, Miss Christie.
All right. On the report for this month, we have quite a few things that have been on here, just a few updates. The target industry analysis, we're still doing the one-on-one interviews. They have been much slower than we had hoped. Multiple attempts to reach out, trying to get people to take the calls. So we've finally seen some progress. I have asked them to try to have that report ready before the next board meeting so that I can report that. And if that's the case, I'd like to meet with the advertising committee beforehand so we can kind of review some of those. So that's the goal. And then there's a few that I've asked the ED department to reach out to, and then we're reaching out to some as well with personal contacts, just trying to get them to finish up those interviews. And it's really, it's mainly the businesses. It's mainly the businesses that we're having. You know, all the leadership and everybody else they've done theirs. It's the businesses. And a few people, I got a call from Mike Adkins with ECISD, making sure it was legit, you know, things like that. So, but Dr. Muri did it right after that. So those are coming, but a little slower, again, than hoped. Website, we're still holding our own. Everything is good. The things that you'll notice that are different in January are primarily a result of the Workforce Summit. So we had a landing page where we ran a separate digital campaign on the summit. So a lot of those hits to the site were either people who were interested in attending or checking out because they heard something going on through there. Lead forensics, just a sample of some of the reporting. And once again, you know, Tracy and Tom have logins, but when we get together each month, I'm kind of pulling the ones that to me stick out, just that I think are have merit, and so we're talking about those more in depth with the names of the companies and things like that. So this is just a snippet with the SIC codes again, and what we're starting to see now that we've had this a few months is we are starting to see some repeats. So we have people who are not just interested for a day or a couple of days, they're staying interested for a few months. So I think that tells us more. And the other thing it tells us, it's rare, but when we do have someone who actually downloads the application, that's the best indicator right there. So the fact that we can see those things, I think, is still very good, and wanted to mention that too. Digital campaigns.
So let me ask you a question there, if I could, right quick on. So somebody downloads the application. Do we know at that point? We may not know the exact person, but we know the company.
You know the company, correct?
Okay.
Correct.
And I'm assuming these are in this. I guess a question for Tom. Those kind of go to the top of the list, I would think. So. Okay.
Absolutely. So, and if they're looking, I'm looking, and so when we do get that one, that's the first one that we're paying attention to, because that shows genuine interest, obviously. And then some you can tell when they're just, you know, I mean, we get a lot of education. You know, you got a lot of students who are doing reports and trying to pull information. My daughter did one and used the site about a month ago, so I know that there is some of that, but a lot of them I think are more valid. So trying to whittle through those, but I think we're getting better at that each month. On the digital campaigns, I mentioned that we did decrease the budget. The numbers that you will see are at that rate. For February, we've decreased it even a little bit more. So we had done really well in our advanced manufacturing campaign, but in lieu of the target industry study coming up, we've backed that off. I don't think that's going to hurt us to be absent from that in February. We can always start it right back up again in March, but saving a few more of those dollars. So the rates will go down again in February. But again, still doing well, and our programmatic campaigns, our digital display, those video ads, still perform better than ever. One thing that we're doing to update those, so we have a lot of those that we recorded, goodness, 9-10 months ago. We had a videographer at the Workforce Summit. We've taken clips that came from different presenters and different panelists, and so we're working those into new social content, along with more Did You Knows, just to kind of let the community know a little bit more, and outsiders what ODC does. We're considering doing something every Wednesday on Workforce, a little bit of alliteration there, but we're trying to kind of keep a consistent workforce message out. Let's see. Oh, also, I'd mentioned this last time, but we're gathering information to beef up the workforce section of the website. Some of the things that people asked for at the summit, some of the resources as we learn those things, kind of trying to be a clearinghouse for some of those things as well. You mentioned the SHOT Show. We did run a geofence campaign around that. It was a limited budget, but we ran it. It still runs for 30 days following the show. I'll have the report on that next month. One thing that's happened in the geofencing world, though, the way that they're targeting our iPhones and software, they're clamping down a little bit. So I probably will not be recommending as many geofence campaigns in the future. We'll have to look at other ways to target. So it's probably good for each of us individually, but less so on the marketing side. BRE, after the workforce retreat, I know several things came out for BREs in terms of tools. So Tracy and I are working together on the checklist that came up, both printed, website, things that we can put those on, and then looking at developing an e-blast that we can do. Again, as resources come up for our local businesses, just one more thing we can do to help support them there. And really, other than that, talked with the ad committee a little bit. We have not met this month, but we've talked about really ramping up more good news about, things that the board does, signage, announcements when you have things, and trying to do a little bit more on the PR side for those kinds of things. And that's all I've got.
Excellent. Any questions for Christy? Wonderful. Thank you
All right,
so much
thanks.
for the update. All right. Mr. Walker, Black Chamber of Commerce, please. Glad you're here.
Well, glad to be here, glad to be somewhere.
Yes, sir.
Glad to be above ground. Good evening to everyone. We'll just kind of run you through some of the high points of the Black Chamber. We have, I'm glad to say that our numbers, I'm really proud of this, and we're seeing our numbers start to really take off. And that is a blessing within itself. Some of the numbers that we're seeing, as we, in the report, we help some of our local organizations with boxing food, food distribution, things of that nature. That's the only area that's really disappointing, because we're still seeing continued growth in that, and that means that people are still struggling. And we would like to see that go down, but as far as our numbers there at the chamber office, we, as a matter of fact, we just finished a program, and it was called the Shirt Off Our Back. And this was a very, this program put us in contact with some different organizations. We were able to help 4 different charities, to the point that we collected somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 boxes of new and partially new clothes. And every piece was given away, collected, and the organization that we gave most of it to said that it would be gone pretty much in 2 months. So that was the need they had. So I guess we're kind of trying to get in where we fit in, and trying to help where we can. We're watching our numbers go up continuously. We did somewhere in the neighborhood of, 13 new counseling sessions. And this is with people actually coming in to the point that we're working with some of our entities here in the city. We've actually gone to some locations and actually looked at these properties. We are actually able now to take some of our members to these properties, let them look at these properties and see if this is something that they can afford. This is the footage that you're looking at. Would your business be comparable here. So we're getting to a stage, I know that it was like churning butter. We just kept at it until now it's to the point that it's coming to a head, and we're real proud of that. We have some projects coming up now. We're going to, a lot of the interest we see right now, as you know, this is Black History Month, and we're doing a medical breakfast on the 24th, and this is to the point that because you have, in the minority category, you have diabetes, you have high blood pressure, and this is something that we're trying to touch on. Is going to be a complete medical breakfast. It's going to be with sponsorships, so we'd like for you to come out, eat some of, I know I'll be one of the cooks, and I'm a pretty dang good cook, so I didn't get this physique, eating bad food. So we're really proud of our numbers. And I always say this is because the people we have involved, our board members, and the people that support us. And we thank you for inviting us and let us be part of the workshop in January. Those are the type of things that we're introducing our board members to and our members to let them know what's out there and what the chamber is all about, who we're trying to help, and what direction we're trying to go. So it's pretty much simple as that. Any questions that I can help you with, answer, complaints, we take those as well.
No, just thank you for you and your team showing up to our planning session.
No
The
problem.
input was tremendous.
They enjoyed that so much. So thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Walker? All right.
Thank
the
you for
update,
letting me
Chris.
share.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, I don't see Tyler here for UTPB, but I know the update is in our packet. And same thing with Mr. Beecham for Motran, which brings us to the last, but certainly not the least, Ms. Kaylee Banda for our City Administrative Support Financial Update.
Thank you so much for that grand entrance.
Yes, ma'am.
My presentation will be just as grand.
I have no doubt.
Well, maybe not. So as you'll see, the report that you're getting still is not the one you're used to, but now I do have the technical capacity to pull the trial balances for the current fiscal year. So next month rather, we're going to be back on track with those presentations. So what I do have prepared for you today is similar to last month, just a quick rundown of specifically the sales tax that ODC will receive. Mr. Mansky was correct. February was a good month for sales tax because
You
it
had to
is.
point that out, didn't you? Mr. Mansky was correct. He's hard enough to live with. Go ahead.
Yes, so they are on a 60-day look back, so it was Christmas month and lots of shopping, obviously. So
Yes, ma'am.
for February, ODC sales tax amount was $1,423,384, which is above what we projected for the month. We projected 1.1 million. You'll see the number there. And it's also about 6.4% above February of last year, which is good as well. We are, if you look at the second page, treading about even on a year-to-date basis compared to last year. So things are balancing out. No decreases, which is good. We're at a 1.39% increase year over year. That third page there that you'll see is just a snapshot from our September investment report of the muni bonds. So last meeting, you guys noticed that we were going to have some maturities coming up, and you're absolutely right. So we had Judson ISD mature the first of this month. We had McLean and Woodford counties also the first of this month. And then today we had Williamson County mature. So from that, we'll have about $2.7 million going back into the Invesco money market. And then the interest income earned from those three maturities is $19,527.50. So just about $20,000. The Invesco is paying 5.25% right now, which is really good. The market is speculating some change in interest rates over the next few months, so that might go down as the Fed continues to meet and they make their decisions regarding interest rates. So I'm sure we're all just on the edge of our seats waiting to see how that happens. In regard to reinvesting those monies, our broker-dealer sends offerings like twice a week, if not more, so it just kind of made sense to wait till all of those mature to reinvest it all at once. And so I can look for comparable investments to what these already were. Obviously, we had a mix of county and ISD, so I can get some options for both. But obviously, we want to try to lock something in now before interest rates start declining, if they start declining. So I'll visit with our broker-dealer and see what they can get us that's currently available. They'll send an email saying this is what we have available, but obviously, like, once those bonds are all bought up, like, we can't access them. So now's a good time to have that conversation with him and just ask what he has available.
Approximately, Kaylee, see if you remember right off the top of your head, approximately how much do we have in the two government security funds that we have in TexPool and TexLogic?
Well, as of September, so it's higher now, about 60 million. So
60.
60.
The reason why I'm asking is, you know, I think everybody would agree that everything we're seeing that's coming out of the Fed is they're calling for probably 5 to 7 rate decreases probably this year. So it's a really good time to look. One of the things you might talk to our broker dealer about is not only this roughly almost $2 million that's available, is shifting some of that money from our TexLogic, TexPool accounts over to lock in some higher yields. We just need to look and see,
Okay.
you know, what are our commitments over the next 12, 24, 36 months-ish, right in there, and we can build some ladders to lock in some of these higher yields for a little longer period of time.
Okay. What kind of shift would y'all feel comfortable with as far as shifting money from the pools more to investments?
That's what I said, we need to look at our commitments over the next.
We need to look at what
the obligations
what
are
our
coming down.
obligations to
Okay.
our grantees are,
Okay.
and we'll need to
Oh, I see what
estimate
you
in
meant.
some
Okay.
for-
Some, for future grants, yes.
I misunderstood that. I apologize.
No.
Okay. I can certainly do that. And then kind of in relation to that, Mr. Russell, you had asked last time if we could start seeing our the facade grants on the financials as well. And I visited with our team and as well as our consultant and just kind of asked him, why don't we already do that? And nobody could come up with a good answer.
I think it's because they're they've been historically in the
Promotional.
promotional
Yeah,
piece
Budget.
we've shifted that out.
without
now.
it
Yeah.
broken out, but since they've been shifted out,
Mhm.
we ought to be able to
Maybe.
see them.
We still certainly need to look at those commitments as far as our planning, for sure.
Yes,
Shift
yes,
some
so
of that.
I'll include those whenever I look at all the obligations, I'll include those as well.
Yes, ma'am.
And then in relation to the promotional, Melanie, I'm glad you said that because I also very much enjoyed the planning session that we had. Some of the things that Mr. Moore, Jeff was saying. Jeff Moore, yes. Just kind of got me doing some research on our end. So I know at one point the promotional category came onto the scene and the city did some backwards calculations to identify how much needed to be rolled forward. And I don't know how long that continued afterwards. From what I could see, that stopped around 2018 where that calculation was happening. So my next step was just to come here and ask if you were.
That doesn't sound right to me because during budget hearings previously, I know that we've looked at what the roll forward was.
Okay, and was that?
It's been, I think that my recollection is that we had been using more each year of our promotion and that there was less to roll forward.
Okay.
but I know that we talked about the amount rolling forward in prior budget
Okay.
years.
There was a reference piece in the budget,
Yes.
budget documents, and the last time I recall was when Cindy Muncy was here.
It
And
was
she,
always color-coded
yeah,
and-
she always went through that piece of it, so you might look back at the,
Maybe
and
the
it had,
workshop documents.
Okay.
It was
Yeah.
on our, it was on our budgeting, there was a spreadsheet.
Yes,
all
I've seen the
color-coded.
spreadsheet.
Mhm.
I might be looking in the wrong place. The one I saw was from 2018, but we've got a lot of documents kind of all over
Sure.
the place. So let me look again and
If-
see if that's.
I can look back through my stuff and see if I can find it, but if I can help you with that or looking at it, let me know. She usually had it in a little box down towards the bottom of the spreadsheets, but there would be the computation for the roll forward and,
Okay.
yeah.
I'll look again, and if it was calculated as scheduled, that's good. I just want to make sure that it is being
Now, since
calculated.
she left, I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
but I know that when she was here that we talked through it each year
Okay.
during the budget.
Good, good, good. Okay.
Yeah.
That is helpful for me. I will go look again and see what I can find.
Because I came on the board in 2018, I think, or 2017.
you're young enough, you
Seems
should
so
remember.
long ago.
You should remember.
It is kind of a long time
It
ago.
is.
Think about it.
It was not long after my little boy was born, is the reason I remember. And he's getting ready to turn 7, so.
Time flies. Well, that's all I had. Like I said, next month we'll be back on track with the regular report, and I'm looking forward to that, presenting that information for you all.
Us as well. Any other questions for Ms. Banda?
Okay.
Thank you, Kaylee.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, just like to remind everybody, this is a public meeting, therefore any member of the public can address the ODC board regarding any of its agenda items before or during the consideration of that item. So if you'd like to be recognized, please just let me know. This brings us to item number 7, discuss and take any necessary action regarding the economic development agreement with Welcome and Trading Company Incorporated. Mr. Mansky.
I told you to have to put up with me again. You will find in your packet, after the reports, right after the Motran report, a resolution. The reason the Walkerman agreement is coming back before you, you passed it at a previous meeting, but we did not do it by resolution. And resolution is how the city, they use the resolution number in filing, so they can go back and find it. And I know city council does it by resolution, so now in front of you, you have the agreement again, and you have a resolution to pass for the agreement.
So are we gonna, going forward, when we consider an item, are we gonna have an accompanying resolution so that we don't have a two-step process?
Yes. And that was our office. We got out there a little ahead of ourselves. And so from here on out, and I know Christina and I've had numerous conversations, so we've kind of, we're putting it down in paper right now, but we've got a good process to go back and forth on this stuff, and you shouldn't have something like this.
And it's like we've discussed this with Tom, it's just cleaner doing the resolution. Then we don't have to go back and dig through the minutes.
Move for approval.
Second?
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you. And brings us to item number 8, discuss and take any necessary action regarding the economic development agreement with ICA Development, LLC. Resolution.
And after that information, you will have a resolution and an economic development performance agreement with ICA Development LLC. I will remind you, one of the big discussions at our workshop was Section 501.103, certain infrastructure improvement projects, which certainly allow you to do this if the board deems it's going to provide additional growth in that area. I did bring a copy of the exhibit, which shows the work that's being proposed. We didn't have this until recently. I think the city's GIS department put this together, so I'll hand this out to you.
And Mr. Chairman, Ms. Holman has she needs to.
I need to note that I'm abstaining from this,
Saw that come across.
item.
Thank you.
Yes.
And we don't have the larger site plan that shows a bigger area of all the development that I know y'all have discussed, and you were able to see that we strongly believe this project will lead to moving forward. I think it's a great project for y'all to consider, and will have a lasting mark on this community in this region. I think there's two parts to it that the request for assistance has been asked. Both of them are regarding infrastructure. One is drainage, as a lot of, I think I heard 500 homes drain to an area north of 191 at that point, and where's it going to go for this development on the other side of 191? And then the other, if you look on the, did everybody get a copy, by the way? Okay. Short one, here you go. If you look at that picture, I believe the drainage runs down parallel on the purple. I can't remember if it's the front or back. And then on that, you see the blue section. See the black at the south side of the blue section as it runs parallel with 191. That's the proposed roadway that's going to run from almost Yukon there, or at Yukon, all the way down parallel with 191 to the southwestern side of that blue piece. You have the rectangular shape, I guess.
Yeah, I think this is a fantastic project.
But
for the city and the county.
doesn't it run all the way to Mission Boulevard?
Yeah, it kind of zigzags.
I believe it does. You can't tell from the diagram, but it does run down to Mission, at least in the first diagram that was handed out. And that would be correct, right? Okay.
It kind of comes
well,
down
yeah,
right
let-
there and then comes across to Mission.
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Shaughnessy's here, so she might want to come shed some light on the zoning and
Well-
where everything runs.
Well,
Come on down.
yeah.
Should be kind of like that right there, Dave. It kind of drops down here.
Yeah, and
comes
then-
across
Yes,
to
it
Mission
will,
Road.
it will reach Mission, so it'll go from Yukon all the way to Mission.
I think the important things for me is what I recall is that's really important that does intersect, because this is one small piece. This Backer Road is one small piece of a loop to the entire proposed development that's going to occur.
Correct,
And how many? What's the size of that proposed development?
it's 154
It's
acres.
big.
154
It's a
acres.
big piece of property. So I guess what I'm saying, I know you're coming up here, but I think the important thing for me is that a substantial part of this has been built or is going to be proposed to be built. This one little section, it kind of completes, to me, the circulatory part of this that loops all the way through to pick up the commercial, industrial, workforce housing component. So I just think we need to make sure we know what we're not just trying to build a little short piece of road and that's it to impact this smaller piece of
And in
property.
addition to that, we have the overpass on 191 that's right now currently under construction.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the traffic, and especially as we keep on developing from the airport, Yukon is going to become a very important arterial road. So it helps have, secondary roads for circulation, especially as we're growing, and we're growing in both industrial and retail and office space in this area.
And that drainage opens up all of this, not only this 150 acres, but what's going to be developed in the future, which is about 1,500 acres from what I've seen. So, I think our small investment now will pay huge dividends for the city and the
That's the
county.
part that's, to me, is impactful. Because, a lot of that stuff going forward, we're providing this small piece. That investment that's already there and going forward is really important, to again, that huge 1,500 acre piece.
Agreed.
Like a motion to approve?
Sure. I have a motion from Dr. Kurt.
Second.
Have 2 seconds, one from Mr. Russell, one from Mr. Robinson. Any further discussion?
I didn't mean to.
No, you're great. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Please no
Thank
one
you.
is an abstention.
One abstention.
Oh, one abstention. I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank you for that clarification.
And I will mention, it's common, communities rely on that statute to do something like this. What I think you're approving here is an investment that's going to stimulate a much larger, broader, like you were saying, 1,500 potential. This isn't going to happen overnight, but because of what you're doing here today, it's going to kick off 10 to 20 years of new development in that area, which will be significant.
Thank you, Tom. Okay, item number 9, discuss and take any necessary action regarding compliance monitoring report for Apergy Champion X presented by Whitley Penn and their resolution.
And usually the compliance committee would submit this, but under the new policy, if it did not meet any issues as deemed by Whitley Penn, we can go ahead and put it in the agenda and put a resolution that's actually a request for payment. And so that's what you have before you. Following the resolution, which is 2 pages, you will see their actual compliance report, and it goes into the methodology. Some of you may have viewed that after it was sent to you. Raise your hand if you didn't. No, I'm just kidding. But it'll tell you where they met their employment requirements and FTEs. Actually, they really did a good job there with the FTEs and their CapEx requirements. So I present this to you for your approval. They've met everything for this, I believe, in the resolution. It's their third year of compliance. They started out as Apergy, and then Champion X, I believe, purchased them, and now that's the actual company.
So I believe this grant is payment will be for $200,000, which will take the $600,000's already been previously paid. Take the total to $800,000 of a full $1 million grant.
I think it's important to note that this is, again, demonstrating that typically what we approve are minimum standards, and they've exceeded those. And I think what we normally see is they exceed them considerably. And so I would make a motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion from Mr. Boutan. Have a second from Dr. Kurt. Any other discussion? All right. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Brings us to item 10, discuss and take any necessary action regarding the compliance monitoring report for West Texas Food Bank, presented by Whitley Penn. This one, I think I had a...
And the reason this is not a request for payment, this back during COVID, it was explained to me, I won't say who did, they said when everybody was feeling nice, they received their money up front to do a big freezer and some items, and
That's right.
the requirement was up until the end of the agreement in 25, they would have to continue being under compliance and be monitored, and that's what this report is. So they're not going to be paid anything. They did, once again, that's why compliance committee is in here before you. They did meet all their requirements and everything they said they were going to do. Back in, I can't remember the year, maybe it was 20, but they were paid $1,116,150 to do some things. If you've ever been out to West Texas Food Bank, I know it's a nonprofit. It's to help, feed people who need food. But it is a logistics business. I mean, it really is. It's run like one. It's operating. When you're out there in the warehouse, you don't feel like you're, and really, I guess you shouldn't. But it is. They've they've got a large employment and they're at it every day. So I would present this to you and tell you they are in compliance as of this report.
This is the final compliance report that we'll have.
Next you will get one for this year moving from, I guess, what's on the resolution, May 23 to May 24.
Is this a non-action item?
You still have to approve the resolution.
Is there, the question I had about this one, and I'll certainly leapfrog it to next year, is, you know, I guess what the benefit was to go ahead and spend the money for the compliance audit when we paid it all out. I understand that they continue to.
Because under the law, you're required to include provisions in your contract, your EDA, that state that if they fail to comply, you're gonna claw back grant, and
Okay.
so we still have the obligation
I
to
know
monitor
this is a little bit of a weird
compliance.
one because we don't usually pay ahead, but
Well, and that's our
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
eccentricity
yeah.
of our process, but yeah, you still have to monitor
Okay.
for compliance, you still have to claw back if they don't comply.
Well, just out of curiosity, I mean, and this is for me and my feeling is, I mean, out of our benevolence or whatever, I mean, they have exceeded the FTEs considerably already, as well as the total wages. I mean, could we vote to, and we've already paid out all the money, just to say, hey, you know, we're good and not require that final
No.
compliance?
It's
State law
a
requires that we.
signed agreement.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, you know, they've already met all the requirements
No,
and,
it's a
you
statutory
know, save them from having to go
requirement.
through one more compliance report and.
But if their next year, they are under by FTEs, we can amend our agreement to say, hey, you were over in prior years, we'll average it out.
Okay.
Move to approve the resolution.
Motion from Mr. Boutan, second from Mr. Navarrete. Any more discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Item number 11, which is the ODC Committee and Officer Reports. Again, the partnership did not meet, but I'm going to get with Mr. Mansky and see if we can't get a meeting on the calendar for the very near future. Did Tax Incentive Committee meet?
No.
Okay. And I know we talked about advertising already. Did the DOI Grants Design Review Board meet?
No meeting, no project.
Okay. Thinking they had one scheduled, didn't, no problem. And then, of course, no meeting for Compliance Committee. Okay. We don't have anything that I know of necessary to go into closed session today. Are there any other non-agenda items that anyone would like to discuss? Okay. Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Nope.
Whoop, did I
No,
forget
wait,
one?
wait, wait.
Next board meeting. I always forget that. Okay, moving right along. Upcoming dates on future ODC board meetings. Tentatively, we are set for March the 14th, but Mr. Mansky did bring up a deal that is going to be in spring break. Do we have any conflicts? Is everybody tentatively good for the 14th? Mr. Russell won't be here? Oh,
I'd like to not be here.
I'd like to not be here too, but. I mean, is that?
I mean, we are likely traveling some that week, since no one has off of school.
Okay, would we like to bump that back a week to, say, the 21st?
Or the 20th? 21st, I have a conflict.
Okay, 20th of March.
I can do the
22nd
20th.
night? What's 22nd?
Oops, let's look at March. So the 20th would be a Wednesday, the 22nd would be a Friday.
The 20th is a Tuesday.
Of March?
Am I, oh, I'm in the wrong month, excuse me.
They say, wait a minute, my calendar's messed up.
Probably just went on the wrong arm or like.
Just because so many people, if they travel, like to get out of town early on Fridays, I would,
20th is fine.
20th work for everyone? Would there be any conflict, do we know, with the city calendar for 20th?
Wednesday.
That's when,
check on chambers availability,
okay.
council chambers.
Yes, that was the one I was wondering about, to see if we have access to the meeting room. Yeah, normally Norma's here going, nope, yep, she just knows right off the top of her head, but let's do tentatively on the 20th, if that works for everyone, and then if there's a conflict with, council chambers. Oh, yes, sir, thank you, I appreciate that. He's gonna check for us real quick.
Are you talking 2 o'clock, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir, 2 o'clock.
Okay.
Is that good?
I'm checking right now.
We're waiting for the word from Mount Olympus.
Looks like, March the 20th, there's a ZBA meeting at only 8:30 to 9:30 is all that's on that day.
Okay, so, okay, let's put us down for the 20th at 2 o'clock.
I'll let her know.
Thank you very much, appreciate that. That works for everyone? Okay. Anything else? Hang on. Okay, I'm at item number 16. All right, just making sure. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.